today's your lucky day, as I just happen to be Captain Jack Sparrow.
Is he drunk? Is he gay? What is he? These were the questions that Johnny Depp said Disney executives asked when they first saw his performance of pirate captain Jack Sparrow.
I'm sorry, it's such a pretty ship.
But the rest of the world loved him. It was Jack's appeal, above all else, that turned The Curse of the Black Pearl into a smash hit and spawned a lucrative Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. So what made this particular swashbuckler so popular? Jack is irreverent, campy, and silly.
My peanut.
A far cry from the classically masculine, self-serious, standard heroes of fantasy movies and blockbusters in general.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
Back in 2003, Jack's trickster persona, his embodiment of personal freedom, and Johnny Depp's iconic gender-bending performance created an alternative male role model that would shape our cultural landscape to come.
Yo ho, a pirate life from me.
Here's our take on why Captain Jack Sparrow was such an unusual hero and why movies today need more like Jack.
Drink up, me hearties, yo ho.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare, an online learning community that offers thousands of classes for curious and creative lifelong learners. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers 2 months access to their entire catalog of classes for free. Just click the link in the description below to join today. Before you even see the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, it's immediately clear from the posters that Jack is the protagonist of the franchise, but he shouldn't be. If you look at the cast of the debut film, The Curse of the Black Pearl, it's bland, noble Will Turner who fits the requirements of a typical hero, while Jack is written like a zany side character.
I always liked you.
A hero's story is supposed to have an arc. And Will Turner does. He needs to prove his worth to win the girl of his dreams. But Jack has no such lofty goal. All he seems to want is his ship back.
I'm going after the Black Pearl.
Where Will has a journey he must complete, Jack's story is just a return to homeostasis. In the beginning of most of the films, his balance is somehow disturbed, and for the rest of the film, we follow him trying to restore it. In the first film, Jack's goal is to recapture the Black Pearl. In the second, he needs to get rid of the black spot. In the fourth, he needs to find the Black Pearl again.
What has become of my beloved Pearl?
And in the fifth, he needs to restore the ship to its original size. While Jack is occasionally given grander objectives, like when he pursues immortality in the third film, he's at his best when he's simply trying to get back to his normal, a state of happiness, self-sufficiency, and freedom.
Bring me that horizon.
A classic hero story centers on transformation, but Jack's journey is about remaining himself.
I'm Jack Sparrow, the one and only.
There's a special significance to this. Because Jack is such an unconventional person, staying true to himself and refusing to change is far more heroic than caving to the pressure to be more like everyone else.
You are Jack Sparrow.
There should be a captain in there somewhere.
It's precisely this fight to be himself that made him an inspirational figure to many. The whole concept of the hero originates from the epic poems of antiquity, where heroes were figures of legend, half divine, half human. However, in our age, heroes are also supposed to be relatable to appeal to large audiences. So often a compromise is found. The hero seems to be ordinary, but turns out to be or becomes extraordinary. Will Turner thinks he is a humble blacksmith, but turns out to be the descendant of a famous pirate.
It's my son.
But there's nothing ordinary or humble about Jack Sparrow.
You're Captain Jack Sparrow. You vanished from under the eyes of 7 agents of the East India Company. You sacked Nassau Port without even firing a shot.
Like the heroes of old, Jack is a larger-than-life creature of myth.
He roped himself a couple of sea turtles, lashed them together, and made a raft.
What did he use for rope? Human hair. From my back.
So, in retrospect, The Curse of the Black Pearl's masterstroke was this splitting of the male hero's role between 2 characters. Jack can be vivacious and peculiar as long as conventional, humble, and handsome Will is there too, checking all the ordinary hero boxes.
What a truly revolting sight.
Where Will is noble and honorable, Jack gets to be morally ambiguous and self-serving.
In a fair fight, I'd kill you.
That's not much incentive for me to fight fair then, is it?
Where Will charges bravely into battle, Jack prefers to win by trickery.
We must fight to run away.
Jack doesn't really possess any of the markers of traditional Hollywood masculinity: bravery, honor, or adherence to heteronormative male beauty standards.
Except for a sense of honour and decency and a moral centre and personal hygiene.
Trifles.
Yet he's still presented as a man worth admiring and looking up to.
I said to myself, think like Jack.
Unfortunately, a lot of the brilliance of the first movie was dimmed by clumsy efforts to shift Jack into a more traditionally heroic mode in the sequels. But by the fifth movie of the franchise, the writers got back on track by once again putting Jack alongside a more traditional male character, so he could escape those rigid narrative conventions that would only make him less interesting.
Do we even have a ship? A crew? Pants?
A great pirate does not require such intricacies.
For the franchise's principal writers, Terry Rossio and Ted Elliott, writing a movie about pirates meant exploring the theme of freedom.
Jack will be free, a privateer in the employ of England.
Somehow I doubt Jack will consider employment the same as being free.
Contrary to the popular image of romanticized pirates roaming the open sea doing whatever they please, in actuality, historical pirates were members of highly structured criminal organizations. And likewise in the movies, the pirates, apart from Jack, aren't really any more free than the Royal Navy. They're members of crews who must follow their captain's orders.
The Dutchman sails as its captain commands.
Barbossa's crew are even enslaved by an ancient curse, and Davy Jones's crew, who are also cursed, have lost so much of their personal freedom and identities that they are becoming part of their ship. Both the pirates and the sailors of the Royal Navy have to follow their respective laws, whether those come from the Pirates Code, the British Empire, or the Holy Bible. And even if pirates may be more lax about their rules,
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
they still are not free from their own excesses. Barbossa's crew are essentially imprisoned by their own greed, and Davy Jones's crew by their desire for immortality. Only Jack transcends all these chains. He is the pirate of our imagination, who actually manages to be free.
Wherever we want to go, we go. That's what a ship is, you know.
How does he do that? From the start, he refuses to identify himself with any group, so he's not bound by a set of external rules.
This dock is off limits to civilians.
I'm terribly sorry, I didn't know. If I see one, I shall inform you immediately.
Jack is no ally to the Navy, but he's not on great terms with the pirates either. In the first movie, he helps Will and Elizabeth because their goals align, but later on, his loyalties become more ambiguous. Jack won't commit to any band, alliance, couple, or group identity. What he does care about, perhaps the only thing he cares about, is defending his personal identity.
When you marooned me on that godforsaken spit of land, you forgot one very important thing, mate. I'm Captain Jack Sparrow.
He always insists that he be called Captain.
Captain Jack Sparrow, if you please.
He even insists on this point when he doesn't have a ship to captain.
Well, I don't see your ship, Captain.
I'm in the market, as it were.
Jack's pride in his own personhood also comes through in how mindful he is of his few belongings. He has none of the typical pirate's desire for loot, and doesn't have many possessions.
And I half expected it to be made of wood.
But he always makes a point of recovering them.
Commodore Norrington, my effects, please. And my hat.
Even though he's the poster boy for being yourself, Jack shows that this doesn't mean your identity has to be static. In fact, the true Jack is sort of impossible to pin down, both literally and figuratively. He's notoriously hard to capture.
You will always remember this as the day that you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow.
And he is also difficult to define.
Not a lot's known about Jack Sparrow, for he showed up in Tortuga with a mind to go after the treasure of the Isla de Muerta.
Jack's character is a spin on the trickster archetype, defined by cunning mischief, changing allegiances, playfulness, irreverence in the face of power,
Right then, you surrender to me now, and I'll let you live.
and ambiguity.
Me, I'm dishonest. And a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly.
Jack can seem epic in one moment and ridiculous in the next, hyper-virile in one instant and effeminate in another. Jack's character flits around, as Captain Salazar says,
like a little bird.
And this refusal to be nailed down protects his selfhood from being explained or defined by others.
Do you think he plans it all out? Or just makes it up as he goes along?
His most prized possession is a magical compass that points to what its holder wants most in the world, a fitting symbol for a character who represents pride in personal identity.
A compass that doesn't point north.
But when Jack is holding the compass, sometimes it doesn't point anywhere.
Jack Sparrow does not know what you want.
So Jack's freedom comes via two means: not belonging anywhere and not wanting anything. Ultimately, thanks to Captain Jack Sparrow, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is really about this freedom to express one's individuality,
Captain Jack Sparrow.
as well as the difficulty of forming and defining an identity in the first place.
Who am I?
As transgressive figures living outside the rule of law, pirates are a natural symbol for exploring what it means not to conform to gender norms. The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise often highlights the social rules attached to characters' genders.
It's frightful bad luck to bring a woman aboard, sir.
Like the pirates and the Royal Navy, the film's heroes and heroines have to abide by a set of laws, many of which are determined by their gender.
Sir, you wouldn't allow a woman to steer your ship?
And some of which are quite literally stifling.
I can't breathe.
The Pirates of the Caribbean movies sometimes poke fun at gender norms.
But this map has never been seen nor read by any man.
Luckily, I'm a woman.
Like by having their characters cross-dress. And in On Stranger Tides, Jack's sword fight with his double turns into a passionate embrace until the imposter is revealed to be his ex-lover, Angelica.
Always wanted to do that.
Historic settings provide an excellent opportunity to question gender expectations because gender norms change so radically with time. To a modern viewer, the powdered wigs, rouged cheeks, and heels of male 18th century fashions appear decidedly effeminate.
I understand everything. Except that wig.
So, history reveals that gender norms are determined by time, place, and context, rather than set in stone or dictated by some higher power.
Hang the code and hang the rules. They're more like guidelines anyway.
Jack Sparrow himself is ambiguous in his gender presentation.
You were the only pirate I thought I would pass for.
Even today, let alone in 2003, Jack's appearance would be kind of remarkable for the protagonist of a mainstream franchise. Gold teeth, the bandana, the kohl-lined eyes, the matted locks, and many ornaments. In preparation for the role, Depp researched 18th century pirates and decided they reminded him of rock stars. In particular, he modeled Sparrow after Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards. Both Keith Richards and Jack Sparrow are living legends with a taste for foreign finery. And they also appear somewhat androgynous, like many iconic superstar musicians. Think David Bowie, Prince, Marilyn Manson, or Brian Molko. Rockstar's status allowed them to experiment with their gender presentation more openly and with less inhibition.
This is either madness or brilliance.
It's remarkable how often those two traits coincide.
Sparrow's behavior can be interpreted not only as effeminate,
Winning. I love winnings.
but also as queer. He's definitely had plenty of dealings with women, and even spars with an old flame, but he is not really interested in realizing himself romantically, and his masculinity is not conditional on him getting the girl.
I gotta go.
On top of the elaborate costume and makeup, Depp gave Sparrow a swaying gait, slurred speech, quirky mannerisms, and exaggerated hand gestures. These kinds of mannered speech, gait, and gestures are often stereotyped as gay or queer in the media.
Gay pirate? Where are you getting that from? Dude, you're wearing eyeliner.
Initially, Depp's performance was not well received by Disney higher-ups. Disney's CEO at the time, Michael Eisner, even reportedly said that Depp was ruining the movie. But thankfully, Depp stood by his choices, which reinforced the character's message that the highest value is freedom to be yourself.
But what a ship is, what the Black Pearl really is freedom.
Through both his ambiguous gender presentation and sexuality, Jack Sparrow let young people know it's fine to be different, as long as you're true to you. In fact, it's better than fine. It's aspirational.
So that's the reason for all the... Reason's got nothing to do with it.
At its best, the franchise acknowledges the rich queer subtext of its plot and characters.
You would leave me for some horologist in her knickers?
Yes.
You men are all alike.
For example, when Elizabeth asks,
Which side is Jack on?
it seems as though she's asking about Jack's sexual orientation.
At the moment?
In the second movie, Lord Beckett mentions meeting Jack before and branding him a pirate, but seems to be hinting at something more in their past.
How do you know him?
We've had dealings in the past, and we've each left our mark on the other.
What mark did he leave on you?
Later, in a tense interaction, it's revealed that Jack's magic compass, when held by Beckett, points at Jack.
Points to the thing you want most. And that is not the Brethren Court, is it?
Then what is, Jack?
Me? Dead.
And when Jack encounters Elizabeth disguised as a man, he assumes she is propositioning him.
I'm here to find the man I love.
I'm deeply flattered, son, but my first and only love is the sea.
In this exchange, we get both another hint at Jack's potential queerness and the idea that piracy itself is a metaphor for a nonconformist sexuality. The movies speak of piracy as though it's an alternative to, quote, normal lifestyles, echoing queer culture in that way.
I could say I did what I had to when I left you to go pirating. But it would taste a lie to say it wasn't what I wanted.
Parallel to the queer motifs, the movie also features some rather awkward attempts to heteronormalize Jack.
Ah, you pretended to love her, then you left her and broke her heart.
Worse. I may have had, briefly, mind you, stirrings.
Mostly, these take the shape of Jack making crass comments about women.
Neck like a giraffe, and two of those wonderful...
Yes, it's her.
In the second and third movies, a love triangle of sorts happens between Jack, Will, and Elizabeth, and then quickly dissipates. In the fourth, we meet Angelica, Jack's old girlfriend. But even though they supposedly once had a great love, their connection in the movie is more of a partnership/rivalry.
Are you impressed? I think I almost killed you once or twice there.
And when Angelica proclaims her love for Jack, he runs away from her. In the end, none of Jack's romantic side plots come to fruition. Despite the character's obvious virility, his sexual orientation is left a mystery.
You need to find yourself a girl, mate.
Or perhaps the reason you practice 3 hours a day is that you already found one.
This ambiguity might be the result of attempts on the studio's part to tone down the gay pirate for fear of alienating some audiences. Ultimately, it seems that Jack is coded as queer, but the movie stops short of explicitly labeling him as gay or bisexual. The practice of subtly hinting at characters' alternative sexuality without discussing it outright,
I know what it is that gives me a queer feeling when I look at you.
goes back all the way to classic Hollywood.
Why can't a woman take after a man? Because men are so friendly, good-natured and kind. A better companion you never will find.
On the one hand, you might think that by the 2000s, this kind of identity shouldn't have to be smuggled into a blockbuster through subtext. On the other hand, looking back, Sparrow was truly progressive compared to his traditional macho hero contemporaries in blockbusters of that time, and even arguably compared to many mainstream heroes today. And on a brighter note, by not allowing himself to be easily defined as either gay or straight, Jack Sparrow lets his audiences likewise be free to follow their compass wherever it leads.
Gentlemen, I wash my hands of this weirdness.
Through Pirates of the Caribbean's incredible success, Johnny Depp proved that blockbusters could succeed by starring zany, non-traditional heroes.
Never actually been one for tradition.
Daniel Smith Rousey wrote, "One should reckon with the possibility that Depp not only queered the blockbuster, but also spearheaded or revealed inherent queerness and weirdness in Western world boyhood and childhood."
I ran late covering the Halloween parade in the village. There are like a zillion gay pirates this year.
Seriously, does my eyeliner look okay?
Yes, it's weirdly hot.
Today, his legacy is complicated. We can see that Marvel, for example, learned from Jack Sparrow that it pays for blockbusters to embrace weirdness and idiosyncrasy. On the other hand, it's hard to point to many mainstream transgressive heroes since Jack, and overtly queer-featured characters remain strikingly rare in blockbusters today. So, Captain Jack Sparrow provided a different and refreshing mainstream male role model for teens and tweens of the 2000s. And he sent the message that sometimes the supposedly wrong way is the right way.
Perhaps on the rare occasion pursuing the right course demands an act of piracy. Piracy itself can be the right course.
So Sparrow did a great service for young audiences who are finding themselves informing their individuality.
And this is perfect if you're not good at drawing eyeliner wings because you just smudged them. Because you are a man.
What teen doesn't worry about their identity and presentation? About whether they are tall enough or thin enough or masculine enough or feminine enough or straight enough? That age of struggling with yourself is difficult and confusing for everyone. But with Jack Sparrow leading the way, it is easier to find the true you.
I have a rendezvous beyond my beloved horizon.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare, an online learning community that offers affordable classes designed to fit into creative people's real lives. With Skillshare, you can make 2020 the year where you explore new skills and deepen existing passions. Try out street photography, learn how to build your Instagram following, become a web development whiz, or get an introduction to illustration. Or you can take a productivity masterclass with productivity expert Thomas Frank. You'll discover how to transform your personal and professional life by creating a customized productivity system. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers 2 free months of premium membership. That means you get unlimited access to thousands of inspiring classes, with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. Just click the link in the description below to jumpstart your creative journey with Skillshare today.